Once upon a time, in a remote and enchanting corner of the world, there existed a small, picturesque village nestled deep within a dense, ancient forest. This village was known for its breathtaking landscapes, harmonious inhabitants, and a mysterious tale that had been whispered from generation to generation. It was a story of Beauty and the Beast, a story that had transcended time and woven itself into the very fabric of the village's existence. In this quaint village, there lived a young woman named Belle, who was known far and wide for her remarkable beauty, but also for her unparalleled intelligence and unwavering kindness. She was the epitome of grace and compassion, beloved by everyone in the village. Her radiant presence seemed to light up the darkest corners of the forest and bring joy to all who knew her. Belle lived with her father, Maurice, a brilliant inventor with a heart as pure as his daughter's. He had filled their small cottage with his wondrous creations, each more curious than the last. However, Maurice was not a wealthy man, and life had not always been easy for them. Still, they were content, finding joy in the simple pleasures of life and cherishing the love they shared. One fateful winter's day, Maurice embarked on a journey to the nearby town to sell his latest invention, a unique contraption that could churn butter in half the time it took traditional methods. The village was in need of such innovations, and Maurice hoped to secure a decent sum for his invention. Before leaving, he promised Belle a small gift upon his return, a tradition he had upheld since her childhood. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the forest grew colder and more treacherous. A thick blanket of snow covered the ground, making it difficult for Maurice to navigate through the dense woods. Lost in thought and unaware of his surroundings, he suddenly found himself deep within the forest, far from any familiar landmarks. Desperation set in as Maurice realized he was lost, his supplies dwindling, and nightfall approaching. The howling wind and eerie shadows that danced among the trees filled him with dread. Struggling through the snow, he stumbled upon a magnificent castle, hidden away in the heart of the forest. Its grandeur and beauty were like nothing he had ever seen, and a shiver ran down his spine. Summoning his courage, Maurice entered the castle, hoping to find shelter for the night and perhaps some assistance in finding his way back home. However, the castle's interior was a stark contrast to its outward appearance. Cobwebs clung to dusty chandeliers, and once gleaming marble floors had lost their luster. Strange, ethereal voices echoed through the halls, and an eerie silence hung heavy in the air. As Maurice explored further, he discovered a sumptuous feast laid out in the dining hall, seemingly untouched. Hungry and weary, he decided to partake in the food, assuming it was left there for travelers like himself. Just as he began to eat, a loud, thunderous voice boomed from the shadows. "Who dares to enter my castle and feast upon my food without my permission?" the voice demanded. Terrified, Maurice looked around but saw no one. He stammered an apology, explaining his predicament and the reason for his intrusion. The voice grew softer, almost melancholic. "I am the master of this castle, and I am not used to guests," it said. "But since you're a stranger in need, I shall grant you shelter for the night. In return, you must promise to leave before morning." Maurice agreed without hesitation, thanking the unseen host for his generosity. He was led to a lavish guest room, where he found a warm bed and soft blankets, a stark contrast to the cold, unforgiving night outside. As he drifted off to sleep, he couldn't help but wonder about the mysterious master of the castle, the voice that seemed to come from nowhere. The next morning, Maurice awoke to find breakfast waiting for him in the same dining hall. He ate heartily and was about to leave when he remembered his promise to depart before morning. Just as he was about to make his exit, he heard the voice again, gentler this time. "Before you go, I have a request," it said. "I have a single rose in my garden, the most exquisite rose you can imagine. I ask that you bring it to me as payment for your stay. It is of great importance to me." Maurice readily agreed to the request, thinking it was a small price to pay for the shelter and food he had received. He made his way to the castle's garden, and there, he found the rose, its petals glistening with dew, more beautiful than any flower he had ever seen. As he reached out to pluck it, a powerful gust of wind swirled around him, and the garden seemed to come alive. Suddenly, a fearsome figure materialized before him. It was a beast, unlike anything Maurice had ever encountered. Towering and grotesque, with fur as dark as the night and eyes that burned like fire, the creature spoke with the same voice that had welcomed him to the castle. "You have stolen from me," the beast growled, his rage palpable. "You have taken the one thing I hold most dear. For this theft, you shall pay with your life." Maurice begged for mercy, explaining that he had only picked the rose at the beast's own request. He recounted his story, emphasizing his desperation and the fact that he had not intended to steal. The beast, though initially unmoved, saw the sincerity in Maurice's eyes and the love he held for his daughter, Belle. After a long pause, the beast relented, granting Maurice his freedom on one condition: he must return to the castle with his daughter, Belle, and offer her in his place. Maurice, heartbroken but with no other choice, agreed to the beast's terms. With the rose in hand, Maurice hurried back to the village, his heart heavy with the burden of the promise he had made. When he arrived home, Belle greeted him with joy and relief, having feared the worst during his absence. She listened with increasing dismay as her father recounted the events of the previous night, his stay in the mysterious castle, and the fateful promise he had made. Tears filled Belle's eyes as she realized the gravity of the situation. She could not bear the thought of her father being imprisoned by such a fearsome creature. Without hesitation, she decided to go to the castle herself, taking her father's place. She knew it was a selfless act, but she also possessed a quiet courage and strength that had always set her apart. As they approached the castle, Belle and Maurice were greeted by the same eerie voices that had welcomed him before. The beast emerged from the shadows, his monstrous form a terrifying sight. But Belle, though afraid, met his gaze with unwavering determination. "I have come to take my father's place," she declared, her voice steady despite her trembling heart. The beast hesitated, his fiery eyes studying her. He saw in Belle a rare beauty that went beyond mere appearance, a beauty of spirit, of kindness, and of bravery. He felt a stirring within him, a flicker of hope that had long been extinguished. "Very well," the beast said, at last, his voice less menacing than before. "Your sacrifice is noble, and it shall not be in vain. You shall stay in this castle with me, and your father will be free to return to the village." With that, the beast led Belle to a grand chamber within the castle, furnished with luxurious fabrics and adorned with precious jewels. It was a room fit for a princess, and Belle couldn't help but feel a mixture of awe and dread as she settled into her new home. Days turned into weeks, and Belle found herself living a life of luxury within the castle's walls. She had access to an extensive library filled with books on every subject imaginable, and she spent her time reading and expanding her knowledge. The castle's enchanted staffa, a charming candelabra named Lumiatilda Diaresis Re, a wise and motherly teapot named Mrs. Potts, and many others attended to her every need, making her stay as comfortable as possible. Yet, despite the opulence that surrounded her, Belle couldn't help but feel a deep sense of loneliness. She missed her father and the simple village life she had known. Most of all, she longed to explore the enchanting forest that stretched beyond the castle grounds, but the beast had forbidden her from leaving. Meanwhile, back in the village, Maurice returned and shared the news of Belle's sacrifice with the townsfolk. They were shocked and saddened, and the story of the mysterious castle and its fearsome master spread like wildfire. Many of the villagers were eager to rescue Belle, but none dared to venture into the perilous forest. Among those who heard the tale was a handsome and conceited young man named Gaston. He was the village's self-proclaimed hero, admired for his strength and good looks but reviled for his arrogance and cruelty. Gaston had long harbored feelings of possessiveness and desire for Belle, and he saw her captivity as an opportunity to win her affection. With his booming voice and charismatic charm, Gaston rallied the villagers, convincing them that they needed to rescue Belle from the clutches of the beast. He spoke of his love for her and his determination to save her, painting himself as the gallant savior she needed. As the villagers prepared for their journey to the castle, Belle's heart was heavy with worry. She feared for her father, who had grown frail and unwell in her absence, and she dreaded the arrival of the mob led by Gaston, who seemed more interested in claiming her as a prize than in her well-being. One evening, as Belle sat by the castle's grand fireplace, contemplating her fate, the beast entered the room. He had changed since her arrival, becoming less fearsome and more melancholic. His once fiery eyes had softened, and his voice had lost its harsh edge. "Belle," he began, "I can see that you are unhappy here, and I wish for nothing more than to make you comfortable. If there is anything you desire, please tell me, and I will do my best to provide it." Belle looked into the beast's eyes and saw a glimmer of vulnerability. She knew he was not the heartless monster she had first encountered but a creature burdened by a tragic fate. "I appreciate your kindness," Belle replied, her voice gentle. "But what I desire most is the freedom to visit my father in the village. He is ill, and I am deeply worried about him." The beast hesitated, torn between his desire to grant Belle's request and his fear of losing her. After a moment, he nodded reluctantly. "You may go to your father," he said. "But promise me that you will return to the castle in 1 week's time. You have my word that you will not be harmed during your absence." Belle felt a rush of gratitude and relief. She agreed to the beast's terms, and he allowed her to leave the castle, warning her to be cautious in the forest and to return before the allotted time had passed. With a heavy heart, Belle set out for the village, guided by her knowledge of the forest's winding paths. When she arrived home, she found her father bedridden and weak. She cared for him with tenderness and love, and in his eyes, she could see how much he had missed her. As the week passed, Belle and her father shared stories and cherished moments together, and her father's health gradually improved. Yet, Belle couldn't shake the feeling of unease that gnawed at her. She knew that the villagers, led by Gaston, were still planning to storm the castle and confront the beast. On the 7th day, Belle bid her father a tearful farewell, promising to return as soon as she could. She made her way back to the castle, her heart heavy with worry for both her father and the beast. Upon her return, Belle found the castle strangely quiet and devoid of the enchanted staff that had attended to her during her stay. Fear gripped her as she made her way to the grand chamber, where she had first encountered the beast. There, she found the beast himself, lying motionless on the floor, surrounded by withered roses. Belle rushed to his side, her hands trembling as she checked for signs of life. To her relief, she felt a faint pulse, but the beast was gravely ill, and his condition seemed to be deteriorating rapidly. With the help of the castle's enchanted mirror, Belle learned that the villagers, led by Gaston, had indeed stormed the castle in her absence. They had clashed with the beast and the enchanted staff, who had fought valiantly to protect their master. In the chaos of the battle, the rosea, the source of the beast's curse, had been damaged, causing the curse to worsen. Belle knew that time was running out. She had grown to care deeply for the beast, seeing the goodness beneath his fearsome exterior. Determined to save him, she set out to repair the enchanted rose and break the curse that bound him. Her journey took her deep into the forest, where she encountered magical creatures and faced trials of courage and wit. With each challenge she overcame, Belle grew stronger, and her love for the beast deepened. She discovered that the rose's enchantment was tied to the depth of love and sacrifice, and she was determined to prove her love by breaking the curse. Back at the village, Gaston continued to stoke the villagers' fears and anger, blaming Belle for the beast's actions and convincing them that she needed to be saved from the monstrous creature. He assembled a mob, armed with torches and pitchforks, and led them back to the castle with the intent of destroying the beast once and for all. As Belle's journey neared its end, she faced her most difficult trial, yet a confrontation with Gaston and the angry mob. She pleaded with them to spare the beast, explaining that he was not the monster they believed him to be, and that he had shown her kindness and compassion. Gaston, blinded by jealousy and arrogance, refused to listen. He saw Belle's defense of the beast as a betrayal and a rejection of his own advances. With a wicked glint in his eye, he challenged Belle's loyalty and love, forcing her into a terrible choice: either marry him or watch as the mob attacked the castle. Belle, filled with resolve, chose neither option. She refused Gaston's proposal, knowing that her heart belonged to the beast. With a furious roar, Gaston lunged at her, and in self-defense, she disarmed him, causing him to fall from the castle's parapet to his doom. Belle's act of bravery and her unwavering love had a profound effect on the enchanted rose. As she returned to the castle, she found the wilted petals of the rose miraculously regenerating, one by one. The curse began to lift, and the beast's monstrous form slowly transformed into that of a handsome prince. When Belle entered the chamber, she saw the prince, who was once the fearsome beast, lying on the floor, his eyes fluttering open. He looked at her with gratitude and affection, and she knew that her love had broken the curse. As the prince rose to his feet, the castle's enchantments began to reverse. The staff members were transformed back into their human forms, and the castle itself regained its former splendor. Belle's presence had brought hope and happiness back to the once forlorn place. The prince, now free from the curse and more kind-hearted than ever, knelt before Belle and expressed his deepest gratitude. He confessed his love for her, and Belle, her heart full of joy, admitted her own feelings. With a kiss, they sealed their love, and the entire castle erupted in celebration. Belle's father, Maurice, was reunited with his daughter, and he found happiness in the knowledge that she had found true love. The villagers, having witnessed the transformation of the beast and the beauty of love, were humbled and regretful for their earlier actions. In the end, the enchanting tale of Beauty and the Beast became a legend not just in the village but in the hearts of all who heard it. It served as a reminder that true beauty lay not in appearances but in kindness, courage, and the capacity to love. Belle and the prince, once a beast, ruled the kingdom together with wisdom and compassion, ensuring that their realm flourished with happiness and harmony. And so, their love story became a timeless tale of beauty, both inner and outer, that had the power to break even the most enduring of curses.